You're right guys, this is the second part of the shed build now. If you haven't seen the first one, there's a link in the description. This one is going to be making the roof. Now this is very much an average Joe way of making the roof. It's not to code, it's not to standard. I'm going to get comments saying it's completely wrong, but it works. I built my workshop this way and it's still standing many years later, so for a storage shed it'll be fine and it's simple. I hope you like it. Right, to start the build on the roof of the shed, I'm going to actually need some little blocks just to sit on top, just to obviously create a raised portion at the front, but to fire a nail underneath is going to be kind of awkward. So I've made some little blocks to go on the side, so I can take this and easily put it on top, fire nails through from the top, and then get in from underneath. Now I can't go underneath on the corners obviously, so I've also made a corner bracket that can sit on. I've just got nails going through and through there as well. It's not adding much strength in this area, but it will stop it from moving and it will just hold it in place while I get the rafters put on and everything like that. The height of these blocks is 10 centimetres. With the full length of timber added on top, it brings the height to 15 centimetres, which should give me more than enough of an angle for a roof this size. To mark the rafters, I clamped a board in place and traced the angle at which it meets the front of the roof. And I also marked around the back. This will give me the markings for a bird's mouth joint. I used my square to follow the markings on. It hasn't got to be spot on, but obviously I didn't want to mark it too far out of the original position. I also allowed for some overhang at the back. I used the angle I marked to set the angle on the mitre saw. This was just done by eye. I was really pleased with how close I managed to get the angle. To cut the bird's mouth joint, I opted to use the jigsaw. You can easily cut it with a cheap handsaw too though. The timber was pretty wet, so I didn't fancy cutting it by hand. With the first rafter cut, I could use it as a template for the other three. The bird's mouth hooks on the back of the frame and the angled edge gets butted up against the front. A couple of nails secure it in place. And they'll stay there, happily, ever, after. So that's it as far as the roof so far guys. I'm really sorry about how short it is, but I didn't really plan it all that well. If I was able to trust the weather, then I would have boarded it out by now. I would have put up the OSB and got it ready for felting, but we've had some really strong winds. I mean, if you saw the first video, it wrecked my gazebo. So I'm worried if I do put boarding on at this stage, it's just going to act as a sail and I'll get up in the morning and the shed will be like in my next door neighbour's garden, so I don't want to do that. The next video is going to be putting the cladding on. So once it's got cladding, it's going to weight it down a lot more and I'll feel more confident about putting the roof on. So join me for that one. If you haven't seen the first video in this series, there'll be a link in the description and there should be a thing popping up on the screen in a few seconds hopefully for you to click and watch that. I've created a playlist so you can watch all the videos through if you're watching this in the future. Thank you all for watching and I hope you found it useful.